Brigitte Bardot passed away peacefully at the age of 91, not in the public eye, but at home, in Saint Tropez, surrounded by quiet routines and familiar care. What happened in her final days, how her husband describes her last moments, and why her life after fame mattered just as much as her career reveals a side of Bardot the public rarely saw. According to her husband, Bernard Dormal, Brigitte Bardot had been diagnosed with cancer and underwent two surgeries before her death on December 28th. She spent her final period at La Madrague, her longtime home in Saint Tropez, where she had lived for more than 5 decades. Care was provided quietly and consistently. Nurses visited daily, and her husband remained by her side. He later shared that he never left her, describing a routine built around calm, familiarity, and comfort rather than medical urgency or public attention. On the morning of her passing, Dormal recalled being half asleep beside her when he heard her say, "Pew Pew," a private nickname they used for each other. Shortly after, she passed away peacefully. He described a sense of calm settling over her, noting that her expression appeared tranquil, almost youthful again. This account presents a striking contrast to the intense public life Bardot once lived. A final chapter, defined not by spectacle but by quiet presence. Brigitte Bardot rose to international fame in the 1950s, becoming a defining figure of French cinema after And God Created Woman in 1956. Her image became inseparable from an era, instantly recognizable, widely influential, and commercially powerful. Yet at the height of her fame, Bardot made a decision that few celebrities of her status ever did. She stepped away from acting entirely and withdrew from the public spotlight. Instead of continuing her career, she settled permanently in Saint Tropez, choosing a life centered on privacy and personal convictions. This was not a temporary retreat, but a permanent shift in priorities. Publicly available information confirms that from that point forward, her focus turned almost entirely to animal welfare, a cause that would define the second half of her life. The Brigitte Bardot Foundation, which she founded and led, became the primary vehicle for her advocacy. The foundation confirmed her death in an official statement, describing her as a world-renowned actress and singer who gave up a prestigious career to dedicate her life to the protection of animals. For decades, Bardot used her recognition not for continued public appearances, but to draw attention to animal welfare causes. She remained largely out of the spotlight, allowing the foundation's work, rather than her celebrity image, to speak for itself. This long-term commitment distinguishes her from many public figures whose activism is brief or symbolic. Bardot's advocacy was consistent, personal, and sustained over decades. In later years, Bardot's public image became more complex. While she remained respected for her cultural impact and advocacy work, she also faced legal issues related to racist and xenophobic comments, which drew criticism and legal consequences. These aspects of her legacy complicate how she is remembered. She was both a cultural icon and a polarizing figure, admired for her contributions, criticized for certain views. According to available reporting, this duality became part of the public conversation surrounding her life, especially in her later years. Her story, like many long public careers, cannot be reduced to a single narrative. What remains clear, however, is that Bardot chose a life aligned with her convictions, even when it came at the cost of popularity or approval. Saint-Tropez was not just her residence, it was her chosen home. After retiring from acting, Bardot lived there for more than 50 years. Following her death, the town paid tribute, calling her its most glamorous ambassador and crediting her presence with shaping its global image. Local statements emphasized that, beyond her fame, residents remembered her as someone who consciously chose to settle there at the height of international recognition, devoting herself to animal protection. Her funeral service took place at the Notre-Dame de l'Assomption Catholic Church in Saint-Tropez. Following the ceremony, she was laid to rest in strict privacy at a cemetery overlooking the Mediterranean Sea, a final decision consistent with how she lived her later years. Brigitte Bardot's passing closes a chapter that shaped cinema, culture, and advocacy across generations. Her story is not just about fame, but about choice, choosing when to step away, what to stand for, and how to define a life beyond public approval. And it raises a broader question worth exploring. Which public figures today will be remembered not just for visibility, but for what they chose to build after the spotlight faded?